Okay, so let's try this again. So what's going to happen here is I'm working on a video called Illegal Organ Harvesting / Not in Your Backyard. Okay? And it's in regards to a documentary reporting on, doing an investigative reporting that takes you to the Darien Gap, Colombo, Cambodia, Mexico, and steers clear of the United States of America and Canada when it comes to illegal organ harvesting, where I'm debunking it, okay? So, before we get into that, I need to just highlight on my daughters so that people that aren't aware of what's happened to my family can get a little gist of what I'm talking about throughout the video, or any video that I mention my daughters and what happened to them. Because, you know, things get buried, right? Alright, so this is a video. They took Ciera's body out of the house, phantom car, March 29th of 2020. And this would be a picture because you can see the number is 63. Because when I was uploading the video from my camera onto my computer, and then I was converting the video, to which the program I was using, I could basically see frame by frame by frame by frame, to which I caught this in those frames as it was converting over. Alright. Otherwise, I don't think I would have seen it. And if I did, then I took the time to find it and to document it, because this here, what you're looking at, is the coroner service car. It came from the back of John Hart's house. They had a police vehicle in the back of the house, like this, right? While the coroner went in through the back, parked the car. This is important, people. Okay? You can see police car, van, police van. This right here is the body dude's guy vehicle. Initially, when he first came, there was two of them. One parked out on the street, and this one was parked in the driveway. Okay? While the coroner's car was hidden around the corner in the back of the house, because there was a back door. There was a basement that had a door, and plus you could go up some steps, because I went back later and I went to the back and I did a quick pan, right? And you go up some steps, and then there was a porch, and then I guess maybe sliding doors. Either or, they could leave the house from the back, go down to the steps, do whatever they did, and then the coroner, to whom we will touch base on that with the motherboard in the hair with the flashing lights. Okay, that will be another video to reinforce what I'm saying here in the great grand scheme of things with my videos. Took it upon itself to leave the premises. But before that could happen, the babyface cop was told to tell the body dude guy to take his vehicle, drive it up out of the driveway so that this one could bat out of there like a bat out of hell. It was basically speeding out of there, people. Okay, it's just my camera was rolling, so the camera caught it. I don't even think I was aware of it until I was converting over the videos. And I noticed it frame by frame by frame. And then that's when I started frame by frame by frame. Okay? With taking pictures. Now, mind you, I could see in those days. I can still see, but no color. It's black and white, gray. It's clouded over a bit. So the detail I don't see, right? It's like I used to, but that's by design. The government's too busy investing 63 million, whatever it was, into in vitro fertilization, free one-time pop for anyone in the province that wants to get knocked up, as they're providing those people below a certain income to be on lifelong birth control at the pop of $10,000 so that they never get pregnant. So on one hand, they're encouraging people to never get pregnant, and then on the other hand, they're encouraging anybody and anything to get pregnant. And they're willing to help people to get to that by paying into in vitro fertilization, regardless of who or what they are. All right. So, now, this vehicle here is the body dude's, the one that comes to pick up the body. That's why it looks like that, because you're supposed to put the body on a gurney, wheel it out, and then it goes in a body bag on the gurney. Okay? So when I say the baby cop, like the baby face cop, like, because he had a face like looking like a baby. Like literally, you thought he was like 4 years old. But he stood at 6'7". Okay, and he was a big cop because my son is big. My son's about 6'2", hefty. Well, this guy was 6'7", a little more hefty. So right from the get-go, they were intimidating us. But by this time, we were out on the porch because the coroner threw us out from the inside because, you know, they didn't want to acknowledge what happened, like Shmay, and, you know, she kind of picked a fight with us because, like, we were a little on guard, and, well, tell us about Ciera. Well, why should we tell you about Ciera when all these cops have been dealing with Ciera for 8 years homeless on the streets? Like, that's not right. Like, well, I'm trying to investigate. Well, I'm waiting to identify my dead daughter's body. And then she took that as a cue to kick us out. So we went out onto the porch. It was raining. They didn't want to leave us out there. Like, literally, they slammed the door in our faces, people. Because there was other tall, like really tall, they were, I guess you could say, women that were like 6'4", cops inside. Right? They had 2 women cops inside that were like at the height of about 6'4". Right? Coroner picked a fight with us, threw us out. We stood on the porch. We told them that we weren't leaving until we could identify Ciera's body. Then they called in backup. The guy even admitted as he was coming down this way, you know, my son said, back up. Oh, yeah, back up. Yeah, he was back up. All right. And then, now this car is parked in the back, right? Because as we were waiting for the coroner, she came in from behind the bedroom. She didn't come through the front door. She came in from the back, walked out of the bedroom into the living room, and then started asking, well, tell us about Ciera. Well, what do you mean? You know, what, right? Like, this isn't the first time. Like, and Marcane's like, oh, well, you'll investigate Ciera. You're here for Ciera, but you weren't here for Shmay. Right? And, like, you know, we're like, yeah, what happened to you guys with Shmay? Why didn't you come for Shmay? Shmay was murdered. Oh, well, get out, get out, get out. And then they basically pushed us out and slammed the door in our face, and then called back up at 6'7" with a baby face cop. Okay? All right. So now we're standing outside with it raining, with the cop guarding the door, striking up chit-chat as if nothing serious is going on behind the closed door. Oh, my daughter's just supposedly laying there dead. But you see, we were all so immune to her dying, so that when it happened, we weren't surprised, because she had OD'd so many times in different locations because of lack of proper health care, that we were already numb to it, people. And they knew it. So this babyface cop tried to, he was acting like he was our friend, having a casual conversation, ignoring the fact that my daughter is dead behind the door and I want to identify her so I can leave. No. They kept us on the porch talking to this guy, right? And I mean, what are you supposed to say? I'm not crying. Tisha's not crying. Mark, none of us are crying, because we knew the day was coming. It was just a matter of time, and we couldn't stop it. You see, that's the thing, right? We weren't the healthcare professional, right? We weren't the fucking cops. We weren't social. We did what we could for years and years and years and years, as these people made it fucking worse, basically, and let her fall through and pimped her on the streets for 8 years, people, okay? Either or. We weren't crying over Ciera. We just wanted to identify her body. We asked to identify her body on the inside when we were on the inside. They refused. They picked a fight. They threw us out onto the porch. They called in their 6'7" backup. And then the guy struck up casual conversation, cracking stupid jokes, trying to make it like it was just nothing, right? And of course, we're just going along with it because we're just waiting to identify her so we can leave, right? Right? And we would have left. That's the thing. We would have left, but they refused to let us see her. And this is why I say this is why I think she was actually alive behind that door, and they were just torturing her. Because you can paralyze people and they can't speak, they can't move, but they can hear and see things. Okay? Why else would they deny us the right to identify a supposed dead person, my daughter, my son's sister, my daughter's sister, knowing what they knew about Ciera being an addict out on the streets for 8 years, being that some of these cops have been to her house because of Ciera? Why would they deny us that right to identify her body, saying, yes, she's dead, okay, and then go home and deal with it? No, they had to play games. All right, so they kick us out onto the porch, right? We're standing out there, we're talking, whatever. This guy, he comes, he parks his vehicle down here. This is the body dude guy that has the bracelet on his wrist with the studs on it. A little black biker sadist masochist bracelet with silver studs on it. It's peeking out underneath his jacket. I have it zoomed in with its own number when it comes to a picture. Okay? But before that happens, he comes in, he parks his vehicle here, he comes right in with his cell phone, whatever. I'm not sure exactly how it went. I'd have to go back and watch the videos. Either or, we're out in the porch. And the cops are conniving. They're conniving to do something because we're not leaving. Okay? We're not leaving. We refused to leave the property until we identified Ciera's body. They refused to let us see Ciera's body until the coroner was ready to allow us in. So, I had my camera going. I should have left it on until the battery ran out, but I didn't know how long I was going to be there for, because we'd already been outside for a while. And so I, at one point, did shut it off. And then I had a little recorder that Tisha was holding when we first went in, and I think I was recording or I turned on my camera, either or. When we were on the porch, I definitely had my camera on for a large portion of the time. And this recorder was on until Tisha finally left, right? So, you can almost say for 52 minutes and 14 seconds, they had us waiting, people, to identify Ciera's body, with the majority of that time, outside of maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, outside in the rain on the porch with a cop guarding the door. Okay? I queued it here. What we're going to do is we're going to listen to this part. We're at 44 into the video. That's not exactly what I want you to hear. We're going to get into it, okay? And then after that, we're going to take it to the very beginning, just so that my memory is jogged as to when this camera was turned on. And I'm pretty sure it was when we were just starting to walk down that driveway and going to go in the house so that we could identify Ciera's body, which would have taken us no more than 5-10 minutes, if that. Okay? Now keep in mind, the ambulance had just left recently. Okay? Because Tisha was there before I was there, because Marcane took me. And she said that the ambulance people were there and they had left. So she was waiting, or maybe she came back and got me and then we went. I'm not sure exactly. Again, it's been quite a while. I mean, obviously the whole thing was traumatic. But I know that at one point ambulance was there and they had left. And all that remained were the police, quote unquote, several cars. I don't know, I think I counted like 5, 6, 7 of them scattered around. They made it a big fucking scene. And then, because you have to remember, they did nothing for Shimei. Alright? They loaded her up in a hammock after they plugged her into a perfusion machine and snuck her out like their dirty secret. And then covered up murder. And they knew that we were pissed off. So they had to make it look like they were going to give Ciera some sort of justice, but they also couldn't do a repeat like they did with Shimei and take her body and hook it up to fake machines, embalm her, and then hook them up to fake machines, and then drag it out for days saying, oh yeah, she's alive, but now she's brain dead and you need to pull the plug, because they already played that one with us with Shimei. So they had to do it a different kind of way. So this is how they managed to get Ciera organs in a different kind of way. Because if they would not have called, if they would not have called a superficial, artificial investigation out of their hat, out of the blue, to get rid of us, and would have just said she died from fentanyl with no suspicious activity like they did with Shimei, they couldn't have done a forensic autopsy on her, and they wouldn't have been able to take out her organs, because her body would have gone to a funeral home. Now, that's not to say that body parts couldn't be taken out in a funeral home, right? But in this situation where I live, I think the preferred method is in hospitals. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to listen to this for a second. Where am I? It's my eyes, people. I don't even see the... Okay, looking for the time. So let's listen.
You're not out in public to see that. Mom, people are dying every day of it.
So they're talking about... Here we are talking about COVID, because this was on March 28th of 2020, and that's when this stuff was just coming about, and and blah and blah and blah, right? Okay. My children were more on board with the rhetoric than I was. Okay. And if you notice, I'm still here. All right. At this point, knock on wood, right?
People are sick, getting respiratory.
50,000 people died last year.
I understand that, but this...
Okay, did you hear the door slam?
United States.
Is
They've only had 1,000 people so far die.
we're working very hard as a planet, which is insane, to keep that limited.
Now, you see, that's my mistrust for the...
This is the chit-chat, the trivial, just standing in the rain. I think you can even hear the rain on the porch, right? Being publicly humiliated by the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, as they're trying to figure out with the coroner what happened to Ciera, even though she was a full-blown junkie for 8 years, homeless, basically, for that full duration, because of what a social worker did to her in December of 2012 by telling her, don't come home, because if you do, we're going to take Andre. But they took Andre anyway, knowing that by kicking out a vulnerable woman that had been on methadone for 28 months in the middle of winter with no food, no money, no bed, no support of her family, none of that shit, right out into the streets with all the other fucking addicts out there, disconnect her from her methadone. They knew that somebody was going to shoot her up with some heroin, and sure enough, within 10 days, somebody shot her up with heroin because she couldn't get her methadone, she couldn't go home, she was hungry and cold, and from that point forward, she was a junkie, people, until they lured her to her death because her brains were so freaking fried by that time, they had no use for her anymore. Alright? But they weren't done with her yet. They wanted her organs. So they had to fake the funk and make it look like something suspicious was happening. So they had an excuse to take her body to the hospital instead of to a funeral home. Because if they just would have designated it as a overdose, suicide, oops, sorry, you don't want to hear that? Then it was an accident. Move on. They didn't want to do that. Because then her body would have been delivered to a funeral home. And I would have went about burying my daughter. Right? But no. They couldn't have that happen. They needed to get her body to the hospital. In this situation, it was the Abbotsford Hospital. It wasn't the Surrey Memorial, it was the Abbotsford, because that's where they do their forensic autopsies. Either or, they took out her organs, and they didn't put them in her gut. No, people. They sold them on the black market like they did with Chimay when they took out Chimay's organs. They just did it in a different kind of way. Okay? So let's listen.
Anything government...
I mistrusted too.
So my kids are still talking. We're waiting. You can hear the rain. We're waiting to go inside so that we can identify Ciera, so that we can leave. And if you notice, from the time this recorder started, we've been there for almost an hour. Well, John Hart is on the inside. Okay, that's the one that lured Ciera to her death.
I mistrusted too, but there is something going on, and people are dying.
Well, what about the 50,000 that died last year from the flu?
Okay, but that's different, Mom.
How is it different?
Because that's a flu. People, it's like older people dying. People
very
with
much the same thing.
That's what's happening now.
I guess so. But there's more people getting it from China, from United States, from here, everywhere. It's traveling from place to place to place, Mom. If you're not going to take it serious, you're going to be the next one dead. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. We should be thankful that it's not worse.
Okay, I'll calm down on it, man.
Thank you. If the majority of us were as...
Just small talk, people. They had us in the rain. You can hear the rain. Talking on about just whatever. Whatever. That cop even tried to get us laughing at one point. Well, I'm like gullible to the whole situation. Not really knowing how to wrap my head around it. Right?
We're like truly panicking. Things would be so much worse.
Yeah. And you'll be in your Fukushima, like, fucking canning up everything, Mom.
When
Like,
Uncle John went missing in 2015, that Surrey flu killed 40 homeless people out in the streets, and nobody, and that's what I'm aware of, and nobody did jack shit. It went through the whole house, Tisha. Everybody got sick. Oh, John got sick.
that was just a common flu bump.
Not when it was killing homeless people out on the street.
Homeless people have bad immune systems, Mom. Uncle John was, how old was he? Like 70
and the majority
something?
of people that are dying are...
Uncle John had pneumonia. That's what made him...
You're going to hear what I want you to hear in a minute. This is us standing out in the rain on the porch waiting to identify Ciera's body. As the cops in the coroner, so-called quote-unquote coroner, are on with John Hart, the suspect, are in the inside conspiring to try and scare us away because they needed an excuse to get rid of us so they could remove her body and quote-unquote legally do a forensic autopsy, but they didn't want us to identify it. Why, people? Why? And I do believe she was alive behind those doors. Otherwise, it would have been that simple. They didn't have to do what they did, right? They tried to use me as the excuse when they came to Tisha at some point and said, oh, we're gonna, it's best if, you leave because, it's gruesome for your mom. It would be too difficult for your mom to see Ciera the way she was. It would be too upsetting. It's best if you leave. Don't worry. We'll call you when we're ready to have you come and identify her. No, it's bullshit. My son could have identified her. My daughter could have identified her. I should have been the one to identify her, not John Hart, somebody that the police were investigating as an excuse to haul my daughter's body to the Abbotsford Hospital for a forensic autopsy, so they had an excuse to take out her organs. And that's a street junkie that's been a junkie for 8 years, played by the government. Played, people. Why do you think they kept her in isolation for a long time while being in jail, and kept her in jail a little longer than she was supposed to be, and they did that illegally? And then within 4 days of being released, all of a sudden she's dead, and the cops don't want us to identify her? Why?
Feel all sick and all that.
From the flu.
From the flu, yeah, it turned into ammonia.
Yeah.
I know that, but what I'm saying is the people that are dying in British Columbia are namely from elderly, old folks.
There are young people dying.
Old, yeah,
Not that
19-year-old,
many.
the 19-year-old, they have better immune systems.
Okay, this is the babyface cop. Okay, so, are you listening? Okay, so...
Our general investigator.
Our general investigator
Unit, so our plainclothes unit.
from so-and-so plain clothes unit. So he was a plain clothes investigator.
Because there's some concerns that.
Because there's some concerns that. So our plain clothes investigator. So there's some concerns about that. I don't have to listen to this again. Or frick, I should write it down. Because it sounds like he's speaking in broken English. Really, when you look at it, or I'm sorry, really when you listen to it, it sounds like broken fucking English. Yeah, because they were conniving. They were conniving people about how they were going to get rid of us so that they could get Ciera's body out of there ASAP as fast as they could to harvest her organs. And being that we weren't going to leave, they didn't know what to do. Well, I'll tell you what they did. I'm just trying to run this back.
Streets, and nobody, and that's what I'm aware of, and nobody did jack shit. It went through the whole house, Tisha. Everybody got sick. Oh, John got sick.
That was just a common flu bump.
Not when it was killing homeless people out on the street.
Homeless people have bad immune systems, Mom. Uncle John was, how old was he? Like 70
and
something?
the majority of people that are dying are...
Uncle John had pneumonia. That's what made him feel all sick and all that.
From the flu.
From the flu, yeah, it turned into ammonia.
Yeah.
I know that. But what I'm saying is the people that are dying in British Columbia are namely from elderly, old folks.
There are young people dying.
Old, yeah,
Not that
19-year-old.
many.
A 19-year-old, they have better immune systems.
So,
Our General Investigations Unit,
General Investigations Unit,
so our plainclothes unit,
plain clothes unit, what did I say?
Sorry.
Yeah. Their plain clothes unit,
because
there's
some concerns that
you can see that he's thinking. They had 48 minutes to conspire before it even got to this point, how to get rid of us. Okay? Seriously. When they simply could have let us identify Ciera as soon as that so-called coroner showed up, and we would have been out of there freaking 35 minutes prior. Yeah. But no, instead they want us on the porch having small talk with cops. Why, people? Why? Do you think my daughter was alive listening to that? As her adrenochrome was being sucked out of her? I do.
they want to look into and just investigate a little further.
They want, did you hear how he just kind of rattled that through? They want something to investigate a little further. Right? It's almost like getting caught in a lie.
Further?
What?
So it's going to be...
So it's going to be, they want to investigate a little longer. I say, what? It's going to be, are you listening?
Probably in a few hours.
Probably a few hours. Right. We'll just keep the mother, the brother, the sister standing on the porch in the rain for at least another 3 hours. Because they were trying to get rid of us, people. Why?
Oh yeah, anything
A few hours. Yeah.
just to stall for time.
What are you guys looking into?
Yeah, what are you looking into?
I can't tell you because
I can't tell you.
ongoing investigation,
Oh,
but
my-
It's an ongoing investigation.
they're saying that there's
No, that's
concerns.
just not.
You're saying they inside. They are saying there are concerns.
We're suspects.
No.
And now my son's saying we're suspects? The cop says no. That was John Hart's house. A man that lured Ciera to her death was working with the cops, people.
So, but you can't tell us.
That's my son. So you can't tell us.
It's an ongoing investigation.
I'm the mother.
No, it's an investigation. I can't.
I should be able to see my daughter before I walk away.
For sure.
All right,
For sure.
right then.
And you can. I'm just telling you. You asked how long. I'm telling you.
And you can. You asked how long, and I'm telling you, in another 3 hours from now. So stand in the rain on the porch, carrying on small talk with a baby-faced 6'7" fucking cop. All right? And I'm like, okay, well, if that's what it takes, I'll stay. Tisha said, no, I gotta go, kids, blah, whatever, right? So she left.
It's going to be a few hours.
You want me
It's gonna be a few hours, so he stated it again. More than once.
to wait 3 hours out in the rain to see my daughter?
Tasha, I'm gonna come to you.
I want to see my daughter before I leave.
100%. What I'm going to
100%.
suggest next
Yes.
is that if you guys want to head home, we can call you before.
And this where he tricked me. If you guys want to head home, we'll call you. We took the bait. We were gullible. I should have stayed. If my son and my daughter didn't want to stay, I should have stayed. This is where you have to learn to stand your ground and not be afraid to face these things. Seriously, people.
Anything else gets done, so you guys can come back, you can see your daughter.
Yeah. Go home. If anything needs to be done, whatever, you can come after, you can come back. And then you can identify her.
Why can't we just step where you step and don't touch anything and look at her?
That's all we wanted. That's all we wanted, people. And they played mine free.
It's a police investigation. It doesn't work that way.
I have no.
And that was a different cop. That was one of those 647 female cops. Well, it's an investigation. It doesn't work that way. Well, John Hart, the one that they're investigating, is behind the door, and they're protecting him.
Police investigation.
But you,
Can I
okay,
get a
so
number,
quarantine
please?
crime scene.
Okay, well, let's just go.
It's a quarantine crime scene.
Tisha, okay. So
Okay.
I'll come to
So that's that other female voice in there that you're hearing besides Tisha. That's that 647 fucking cop, right? Just egging it on. Okay, trying to get us out of there, so that they could what? Do what? Take Ciera out through the front door? Yeah, I'll show you what they did.
the house,
Okay.
but
Okay,
the
but
crime
you-
unit's coming
Mom,
so that we
it's
can do
Mom.
our job, okay? I don't.
Yeah, now they're calling it a crime scene. Huh? I never got no report. Nothing. They just needed an excuse to take her body to go have their two cops stand and witness a forensic autopsy. And then put it in the autopsy report that the organs were put back into the body in a fucking plastic bag. As if. As if. And because we can't get independent autopsies out here, because the government made it illegal, you'll never know the truth, people. Except cameras don't lie. Recordings don't lie. Parents like me don't go out of our way to lie about stuff like this.
I don't know what happened in the past, but
It's quarantine.
we're only can go forward from
Why?
here
We're
not letting
to
them
make sure that everything is ruled
Why?
out.
Preservation.
We have-
Okay, do you hear this individual talking? I'm not really hearing what they're saying. Let's try it again.
Out in the rain
We're
to
gonna
see my daughter.
Tasha, I'm gonna come to house.
I want to see my daughter before I leave.
100%. What I'm going to suggest next,
What I'm going to suggest, 100%, what I'm going to suggest next, right? Because it was a setup. They tricked us.
Yes.
is that if you guys want to head home, we can
That if you guys want to head home, we will,
call you before anything else gets
before anything else happens
done.
or done. We'll call you before anything else is done. In a few hours, in 3 hours or more.
You guys can come back, you can see your
You guys can come back and see
daughter before she
Why can't
your daughter. And he slurred in some other word in there. Now my son is asking a question.
we just step where you step and
Yeah, why couldn't the cop just let us go in there? There was 3 of them. It wasn't like we were going to go ballistic in there. We just wanted to look behind the door, being that they left her hand there so that we could see her fucking hand, but we couldn't see anything else other than a wall with an open door frame with a hand sitting on the floor. It would have been nothing to just look around the door frame and see Ciera lying dead on the floor. And we would have left. And we would have went home and dealt with it, being that we were terrorized for 8 fucking years because of what our government did to her, including the RCMP.
don't touch anything and look at her.
It's a police investigation.
It's a police, that's that female fucking 4'7" cop. It's a police investigation.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. It's a police investigation. It doesn't work that way.
I have no idea.
And I'm arguing now, right? Not that we're arguing. We just don't understand what happened. We don't understand why we are standing on the porch in the fucking rain being treated like criminals here. But being told that they're investigating a criminal behind closed fucking doors.
Investigation.
But you,
Can I
okay,
get a
so
number,
quarantine
please?
crime scene.
Okay, well, let's just go.
It's quarantine.
It's hard to pick out the different people talking.
Tisha, okay.
So that cop is trying to moochie up to Tisha, that female cop, right? That's where at some point she tells Tisha that it would be too hard for me to identify Ciera's dead body, and it would be better if, Tisha can get me to go home.
Come to the house, but there's a crime unit's coming so that we do our job, okay?
Yeah, you can come. I guess you can come back to the house, but right now we're trying to do our job. Now, keep in mind, people, when Tisha got there, she got there first. I don't know, because John Hart called me, told me Ciera was dead, gave me his address. I phoned Tisha. Tisha, went there as fast as she could. She got there first before me. Seen the ambulance people. They said something to her. And then she basically waited for me on the outside. And I showed up with Marcane. But I had to get a babysitter for Andre. Right? So Paige came by to the house. And by the time I got there, Tisha had already been there for a while. With a whole bunch of fucking cops hanging around. Apparently the coroner hadn't shown up yet. And then we all go inside. We sit in John Hart's living room with Ciera not even 10 feet away with her hand laying on the floor in the door frame, but the rest of her body is hidden by the wall. As our backs are to that, because we're sitting on a couch, as that guy is getting fucking defensive, because my son is asking questions in terms of, he's saying one thing, John Hart, and then he turns around and he says something else. My son caught it, called him on it. Well, I'm kind of coddling the guy, because he's playing the victim like, oh, woe is me, dead body in my house. And I'm trying to tell my son just to calm down, and not realizing that my son caught the holes, the lies that guy was, how he was twisting. He couldn't get his fucking timeline right, and just the whole 9 yards. And then all of a sudden the coroner comes. Well, tell us about Ciera. And we're like, we go off on like, well, gee, this is great. Like, where were you with Shimei? Before we talk about Ciera, like, why didn't you come for Shimei? Shimei was the one that was murdered. Ciera is the one that was the junkie. Nobody should be surprised. Why are you here? Like, why are we here? Right? And if we're going to be here, why weren't you here for Shimei? The fucking coroner didn't want to hear that crap, so she kicked us out and slammed the door in our face. Literally, people, slammed the door in our face. And then called fucking backup at 6'7" with a baby face yet. Cop. And then plain mindfuckery. Right? So we got the 6'7" cop, 6'4", the female 6'4" cop needling in Tisha's ear to go home. But don't worry, they'll call us before they're done, or when they're done, and then we can identify Ciera, and then from there they'll take it from there. Okay? Yeah, no, we were being hoodwinked. We were being tricked. We were being lied to. We were being manipulated to leave so that they could leave sooner than later with the body, whether it was alive or not, because we'll never know, people. That's the thing. We will never know. So that they could harvest our organs, because some organs have to come out sooner than others. We already know through what you're going to watch next proceeding following this. You have up to 36 hours to transplant a kidney from a from a cadaver, from a dead body, somebody that's actually dead. You can still transplant the kidney within a 36-hour period. That's 3 fucking days, okay? Whereas a heart, they like to try and get it like ASAP, like as soon as you can possibly freaking get it. I don't know if it's 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, or 5 hours, but it's in a very short window of time. And this is why I say I do believe my daughter was alive behind that door, and not only were they planning to harvest her fresh, but they definitely were torturing her and probably sucking the life out of her with that adrenochrome, and just kept her barely alive for the organs that needed to be transplanted faster than if she had been laying there for 10 hours. Remember, they got to Chimay within the 7th hour of her being basically dead. Well, from the time she got to the hospital. All right. From the time she got to the hospital. Yeah.
I don't know what happened in the past, but
That's the cop. I don't know what happened in the past. That's the cop. That's not the coroner. That's the fucking cop. The woman cop, 6'4".
It's quarantine.
we only can go forward from here.
We can only go forward from here.
To make sure that everything is ruled out.
To make sure everything is worked out.
Reservation
We have
residence.
Reservation.
We have the... I didn't hear that other part because my son's talking.
It's coming.
You guys.
We have something so coming in. Investigator coming in. That's probably what she said. We have the investigator coming in. Yeah, that place is just swarming with fucking cops. Now you're bringing in an investigator? Isn't that what the coroner does?
But it's still a police investigation.
But it's still a police investigation. Like, I swear, sometimes these people are so dumb.
You can speak
So
what
you
we're
think
doing
she
here.
died and wasn't like an accident or an overdose?
We can't let
So
anyone that's not
they're
police
trying to
investigate
figure out what.
investigating.
They're trying to figure out what? Okay, how many times did these cops come into contact with Ciera out in the streets over a period of 8 fucking years? Not to mention the times that we called her when she was here at the house and we couldn't get her to leave. And we were so afraid that if she stayed any length of time, that social workers would come in here and take out fucking Andre. Because Ciera was in our garage ODing. Yeah, right. It's a game for them people. That place, John Hart's fucking house, was nothing more than a Willie Picton farm. Pig farm. It was a repeat. They just moved the pig farm into the city.
Because you're afraid that we
they're
will.
reported, so that there's nothing there.
No, I'm sorry.
And then she's just stumbling over her words there. Couldn't understand a damn thing she said.
You
And that
are
was-
concerned
that's-
that we
And that's
the reason why we had the coroner come.
and that's the reason why we had the coroner come. Well, whatever she said there, I couldn't catch it.
Right?
Right?
The evidence, I don't know.
This
But
is
we
what
can't
they
let
should
you-
have done.
That's her professional. That's like her.
You guys should have done.
That's her profession. That's the coroner's profession, to come in and investigate. Yeah, as she's slamming doors in family members' faces, refusing to let us identify our supposedly dead one. Yeah. Yeah. It was a freaking gong show. This is what the province of British Columbia, Canada, and each and every MLA that sits up in those parliament buildings. It's bad enough that they ignore what happened to Uncle John, but they also ignore what happened to Ciera Chorney, and they also ignore what happened to Chimay Chorney. They also ignored what happened to Andre Chorney. They also ignored what happened to the rest of my family. They're continuing to ignore what happened to me, because if you notice, they got me back on that fucking hamster wheel. Well, I have to go running around town trying to get a referral to go see an eye doctor in 6 fucking months from now. And by then it will be too late. Because it's all staged. It will take 6 months to get a referral, unless I go to the hospital and go in as an emergency. Otherwise, it will take 6 months. And then they're going to give me, what, Dr. Gupta? The one that likes to put 2 bottles of freezing agent into your eyes so that when you leave the office, you're spitting out 2 big green gobs of goo that glow under the sun? After you requested not to be sent to that doctor? Yeah, okay. I should just go straight back to the emergency ward and go get my referral then there. As a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to do that. I'm going to go back to where I came from, and I'm going to ask for the same doctor. Yeah, the one that did that rotor-rooter and put that shitty fucking cataract in my eye. And I'm going to do it through emergency because I know I've been there, done that with these crooked fucking healthcare workers, these crooked fucking cops, these crooked freaking politicians.
Like, would you allow my mom just to see her?
Not right now.
No, not right now.
And then
Don't worry about it.
we have to wait for investigative agency.
We have to wait for the investigative agency. We have to wait for the investigative agency. Okay, that's what the coroner is there for, people.
Investigative units to come.
Constable.
Still waiting to come? Constable
I think my mom.
Bruce? I don't know.
God, I can't believe this.
So,
He's a conflict of
Yeah.
I'm
interest.
just letting you guys
I know,
it's
trust
gonna
I'm just letting you guys know.
be a few hours.
It will be a few hours. He reinforces it again.
Was there when we
you
pulled the
wanna
plug
wait
on my
here?
sister?
Do you want to wait here? On the porch in the rain? Having small talk with me? A 6'7" fucking babyface cop?
You know what I mean?
Or do you want us to call you back?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's going to be a few hours outside right now.
You can't be outside for a few hours right now. What did he say? Yeah, you're going to be outside for a few hours right now. Yeah. Get rid of you by any means necessary. Why would they not allow me to identify my own dead body, my own dead daughter's body? If they were investigating John Hart, why the fuck was he not in a police car in handcuffs? Huh? Why did they keep us out of there but kept John in there, John Hart? What were they doing with my daughter's body that we couldn't watch and see for ourselves? Not even for 2 seconds.
If you want to go, we'll call you.
Let's not argue,
Before she
okay?
gets
This is
moved,
just...
okay?
If you want to go, we'll call you.
Okay, just call me.
Don't get
So, of course, Tisha took the bait and left.
Because mom's gonna freak out. You call me and I'll tell her.
Yeah, and we'll call you.
I will call you and then
you guys.
Yeah, and then we'll call you. Bunch of lying assholes.
Can do X, but we can't do X, even if you were
No, we don't
watching
want
us,
victim services.
to make sure
Victim
that we did X.
services.
They don't do shit with victim services. That's just one big waste of money. One big waste of money. I called them with help with Shimei. What a joke. We didn't qualify. What a fucking joke, yeah. Because they blamed the victim. Said she killed herself.
This is when you're like talking about like the grieving stage, right?
Well, they kind of, they have things that could help you guys move forward.
And they're trying to push this victim services on us. Oh, they have things that can help you guys. Well, what would have really helped if you would have just allowed us to go in there, one of us, it didn't have to be all of us, but at least one of us to go in there and say, yeah, that was Ciera. Okay, now we gotta go home and deal with it. We've been waiting a long fucking time. How many times did we see Ciera almost die in the 8 years from the point that social worker kicked her out into the fucking snow? Huh? Disconnected her from her methadone, took away her food, took away her bed, took away her child, made it so she couldn't go home and be with her family. She had no money. Well, what the hell do you think was gonna happen to a fucking recovering addict? Huh? But they knew it. They made it. Right? One of their handlers in the community that's a fucking addict shot up Ciera in the arm, and that was it. Ciera was a fucking junkie. As they turned around and falsified her medical files, or I'm sorry, her social services files. I got files here from when Andre was in court, and they wrote in there somewhere along the way, or was it in her medical files? Maybe it was something I've got here where I've got something of, no, it wouldn't be medical files because the hospital refused to give me her medical files. It has something to do with Andre, when Andre was in foster care. And it stated that so-and-so said, they wrote it that Ciera said that she had injected drugs, which was a bunch of crock. Ciera never injected drugs, people. Not until the social workers kicked her out of the house in December of 2012. and disconnected her from each and every safety net that she had. And she would be doing really good for 28 months after she had given birth to Andre. And 6 months prior to giving birth to Andre. So, you know, no, they went out of their way to sabotage her. And not only that, but they plotted and schemed, and they made it in her record, whatever record I have, which probably has something to do with social services, because I got court papers back when I got Andre back, where it stated that apparently Ciera admitted to injecting drugs. No. That's the one thing she was proud of. She never injected drugs until she was illegally evicted from her house, and she said somebody did that when she was basically sleeping. And because she couldn't get her methadone, that was it. That was it. She never stopped injecting from that point forward. And for all these little do-gooders in the community, the police and this and that, no, they're handlers, people. That's what they are. They're not helping. They're creating the monsters and capitalizing off of pimping them and abusing them and running them through whatever system that they want to run them through until they can't control them no more, because their brains are so fucking fried, they have to take them out. But before they just take them out, they're going to record it and put it on the black web and go for the bigger bucks. And that's exactly what they did. Otherwise, they would have let me identify my dead daughter's body, or they would have let my son to identify his sister's body, or my other daughter could have identified her sister's body. But no, they were too busy laughing between themselves.
I don't think we're gonna do that. Yeah.
We were already in there, but
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I
saw her fucking hand.
Yeah,
You can't show me the rest.
I missed that. Something I don't think we're going to do that. I don't know. Like I said, that woman cop was needling in Tisha's ear. I'd have to try and bring it back. That's 5043. Where am I? Pay attention to what I'm doing. Okay, 5009.
Where are you? Okay, this is just... Okay, just call me. Just because Mom's gonna freak out. You call me and I'll tell her.
And we'll call you.
You guys can do X, but we can't do X, even if you were
No, we don't
watching
want
us,
victim services.
to make sure
Victim
that we did X.
services is when you're like talking about like the grieving stage, right?
Well, they kind of they have things that could help you guys move forward. And again, if this is your second death,
I don't think we're gonna do that.
Yeah. We were already in there, but
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
I saw her fucking hand.
Yeah,
You can't show me the rest of her
if I
goddamn
use
body.
this call. Okay, like I don't want to.
So you heard that.
My brother will.
You heard that. My son said, I already saw her hand, because they staged it, people. They staged it for us so that when we walked in, that would be the first thing that we would see, was her hand. And just a little part of her wrist and that type of thing. Because she was behind a door. And then they told us, the two female cops told us to sit down on the couch right across from John fucking Hart. And then, of course, you know, we're like being told that we have to wait for the coroner. So, of course, the subject of, well, what happened? And then John Hart starts talking stupid shit that didn't make no fucking sense. My son caught it. Like I said, he called him on it. But I was feeling uncomfortable because I didn't want to get into a hollering match over confused timelines, because he was coming in with confused. His timeline wasn't matching up. It was like he was stumbling over his lies, right? And my son was like, well, how the fuck can that be? If you did this at this time and this at this time, why did it take you so long to do that if you've seen that, right? And then John Hart was getting defensive. All staged, people, I'm telling you. Then John Hart was it's my house, you know, don't talk to me like that. And like, I'm getting all freaked out because, you know, I don't want to get kicked out before the fucking coroner gets showing up here. But at the same time, then all of a sudden the coroner comes, and then she's, well, tell us about Ciera. And I'm like, why? Like, where were you for Shimei? Like, you didn't come and ask for Shimei. Shimei was the one that was murdered, because we're assuming that Ciera OD'd, because she had OD'd so many times. We were willing to accept that. But no, they had to turn it into some fake fucking, what is that? Investigation. So they had an excuse to cut her open and take out her organs because they couldn't do what they did like they did with Shimei and rush her off to the hospital and play her off like she was alive and do it that way. And then illegally embalm her and put her on a fucking bed for 9 days until she was ready to explode as her face was falling fucking off. Like, these things are morbid. And you gotta watch the tall ones. I'm serious. There's something going on with these tall ones. I'm not saying the short ones aren't a problem either, but, like, seriously, wait till I bring up this corner behind the door before the door was closed. And I did the number thing. You'll see. I will highlight again how she had a motherboard in her fucking hair that was like they were square, like chips, in between her hair with little different colors because it was electricity going through it, people, with a completely white as white can be face, and that was under exposure to makes me think the thing was an android. Yeah, posing as a coroner. Yeah. And whatever those things were that were 6'7", 6'4", I wouldn't call them fucking cops. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. And that's based on my experiences. Because the whole thing is morbid.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. It makes 0 sense.
Because they have to cover up with...
And then what happens is my kids get mad. And they bury that anger. And then they take it out on me when they're angry at the world and they've got displaced anger for someplace else. And then it all bubbles over. And they don't realize that it's a lot of what they're doing is displaced anger that's been buried. You think this shit's gone away? No. It hasn't gone away. Has it gone away for me? No. Just because somebody doesn't talk about it doesn't mean it went away. Okay? But I take the brunt of it when they're angry over something that is just a trigger to bring that internal anger that festers underneath the surface. Because life moves on and you're supposed to forget. These dirty cops and anyone that they're affiliated with, they just expect you to fucking forget. That's why they tried to make the conversation on the porch in the rain with that cop as it was just small talk. It didn't mean anything. It was trivialous, right? You even cracked a few fucking jokes in there to minimalize what happened to Ciera. Never mind, remember all the pain that you went through over the last 8 years because of what those people had done to her. And those kind of people. The people that they work with, that the government ultimately all employs. And that's why I'm patient with my kids when they get ranky with me. Because I understand that they've been severely hurt and that most people don't have to go through this garbage.
They made the mistake.
Mom, they're saying that there's things, like I said, she is naked.
So,
We don't know, but that's probably why they're investigating it, because there's things like that. We don't know what she looks like. We don't know what she looks like,
guys,
Mom.
We're just letting you know that there's evidence
Okay, Mom, we're just letting you know.
that we want to investigate a little further.
There are things that we want to investigate first. Now he's getting firm with me. Okay, Mom, just so you know, there are things that we want to investigate first. Now he's getting curt with me. Being nice with me, asking me nicely didn't work, so now he's getting fucking curt. I'm sure you heard that.
Yeah. And of course, I'll get a copy of all this, right?
Yeah,
I'm not going to get just some general, corner,
to have her daughter
mixed match,
recognize
bullshit
this.
crap, right? I'm going to get the full details, or do I have to go through freedom of information?
You're going to have to go through freedom of information.
Exactly. Of course.
Like things haven't already been redacted in terms.
You're going to have to go through crematories? What? What was that? I'll have to come back and listen to it. I should write this shit down. Yeah, like a transcript.
Shimei and Tisha, freedom of information.
Freaking post it. on Facebook.
Can I get a phone
Yeah,
number
fucking
before I
right.
leave, please?
Phone number? I'll give you my card.
She's going to call.
Don't want to put it up on Google though, Google Drive or Google Documents, because once you start using that shit a little bit too much, what happens? You got your 15 gigabytes and then they want to start charging you. No. That's okay. I'm not paying for that. That would be like paying for YouTube.
When it's time.
As a matter of fact, I like watching these ads pop up because it's a really good telltale sign on YouTube to see where they slap their ads, on what types of videos, how often they play their ads on certain types of videos, right? Because you really get a good feel on what YouTube is about when you're coming into all these different ads on different types of videos, okay? Kind of shows you where their priorities are at.
And I will call you.
So you guys aren't waiting out in the rain here?
No.
So you guys aren't waiting around in the rain here. So you guys aren't waiting around in the rain. They've already convinced Tisha to leave.
We're gonna leave.
Yeah, and I said
You're not waiting in
she
the rain,
will call
I'll
me,
you.
Mom.
So you're not waiting in the rain, I'll call you. That's that female cop. Egging it on.
Yeah, when it's time.
No, this is just, I'm gonna
It's
button my
fine.
lip.
It's like a second.
When it's just call
There's
me.
two classes
Okay,
of
just
citizen.
you don't have to go out of your way and
And
come.
it's
Just call, and
ridiculous.
my mom. We're literally like 3 minutes away.
I'm really,
They'll come.
and again, guys, I'm really, truly sorry. This is awful for you.
Oh, I'm really sorry. I'm seriously sorry. Oh, yeah, right. Did you get the stuff? Did you get the cell phone? Are you coming back? Are you coming back to get the body? Oops, sorry, I'm sorry. I forgot, the body's already gone. It got stuffed in the coroner's fucking trunk, and the bitch drove off with it. Got that on fucking camera. And that's the point of why I'm doing what I'm doing here. Because we didn't leave. And they weren't sure. Tisha left, but not Mark Kane, not me. No, we were going to stay. And they couldn't chance it. And they had to get Ciera's body out of there fast. Fast. And they sure did get it out of there fast, people. Through the back door. In the trunk of the coroner's vehicle. And it just so happened my camera caught it. I don't think I even noticed it, honestly, until I was converting over my videos and it came up frame by frame. And I'm looking, I'm like, what the hell, what is that? And I had to, go back and slow, look frame by frame by frame, picture by picture by picture, and put the dots together.
And process makes people worse. I get that. And I know that we're not always in our investigations cases with you guys.
I know we're not always something in our investigation. You guys, that's broken English. Because they knew that what they were doing was wrong, and they were faking the funk the whole time. That had nothing to do with an investigation. Okay, so that's over. And that was just on a little, handheld recorder. Right? I wanted you to hear that. Now we're going to go, where was I? Okay, so we're going to exit out of that, or at least bring that down for now, because I'm almost tempted to find the time to... Okay, so now we're here. So, like I said, as I was converting over the video, I realized that something batted out of there like a bat out of hell. Because, of course, my spidey senses were up, right? And I posted this on the 29th, so I was up on it like ASAP. Right? I caught it real fast. I caught it when it was converting over and it was going frame by frame by frame based on the editor that I was using to convert the video over for it to be uploaded onto the computer. Right? And like I said, this vehicle here, this is the one with the body dude guy that I do believe went in, recorded something, came down the stairs, was looking at it as he was going down the stairs because I seen the reflection in his glasses. When he got down to the bottom, which would be over here, he was looking up at these cops that were over here, and he was grinning, doing hand signals, as to say he got whatever he got. What would be the point? As he's grinning. But he's looking at the cell phone as he's walking down the stairs because it reflected back on his glasses. Right? As the babyface cop is over here, and the guy's coming out of the door, and the babyface cop is saying, "Did you get the stuff?" And if he didn't say, "Did you get the stuff?" it was, "Did you get the cell?" Because I haven't quite been able to figure it out. And, "Are you coming back? Are you done?" And I don't know, I have to pull it up. I can't remember. But he did. He asked the guy, "Did you get the cell? Or did you get the stuff? Are you done? Are you coming back?" Well, obviously he's coming back because he never got the body. Because that was his vehicle. But initially he was over here. Right? He was over here. But the babyface cop told him to move it out. Because as they were plotting and scheming on how to get Ciera's body out of there, in the event, Andre, shut up, in the event that we weren't going to leave the porch and we were going to stand out there for 3 hours, they couldn't have that happen, people, right? They needed to get those organs out of her body as fast as they could, okay? So, if they weren't going to get us to leave, they got Tisha to leave, but I know for a fact my son and I kind of said, no, we're just going to hang out. But they kept needling us, so eventually we did leave. But they weren't sure how long we were going to be there. We could have been there for 5 hours for all they knew. So this is where they got this guy to move his vehicle. And then this coroner's vehicle, because that's what that is. That is the coroner's vehicle. Came out of nowhere real fast. And you can even see it's on a freaking angle because she was like that. It's like she sped out of there. Yeah. And I do believe Ciera's body was in there. I do believe that, people. And she was either alive still, maybe, just barely hanging on after being tortured by them. I do believe that. Or she was dead by them, at the hands of them. Well, in this yard, this house, the one next to it, as my son and I were coming up to the house next to it had this tree that had no leaves on it, just a bunch of branches with this big ass rope around and around and around, hung up really high up in the tree, which made me think it was a lynching in terms of subliminal messaging to the neighborhood, or just satanic rituals, you know, that kind of crap. Because so much of this was so staged. All right, so now we'll get on with this. 9th. Okay, in the evening. Do you see this vehicle here, people? This is a phantom vehicle that was parked in the back. So anyway, this video is very, very long. If I combine it with the illegal organ harvesting, aka not in your backyard, right? I mean, obviously I'm not putting everything in there in that video of mine that I want to, because first of all, I'm not very good at this stuff. And it's so complicated, obviously it takes time to try and explain yourself where it doesn't leave the person listening or watching the video confused, right? Because it is complicated, and that's what they do. They go out of their way to make things complicated. They go out of their way to make things sound like it's unreasonable, or it couldn't happen, or it's like something that you would conjure up with, you know, a sick mind in terms of psychoses, like your station, imagination station, network, that kind of thing, department, little part in your brain where, you know, you get things confused. But no, because this car came out of nowhere as my son and I were still refusing to leave. They thought they could get rid of us. That's where I'm going to end it. I'll add this link into the description box. If you want to go see it, you can go see it. Or I will follow up with it on the next video and then try and pull in the body dude guy, the one that was driving this one, where his vehicle was here first before the babyface cop said leave, and then he drove out so this one could leave because they had to get Ciera's body out of there fast, people. They couldn't take it to the hospital in an ambulance. It would have had to gone to the Surrey Memorial Hospital, and they would have had to, pronounce her dead there, and as soon as that happened, they would have had to sign her over to me, and I would have had a funeral home come pick her up. And they couldn't take their chances with a funeral home because this is a network. They don't know, they wouldn't have known what funeral home I would have went to. And once a funeral home would have gotten it, if they aren't part of the network, they would have done their job, right? And they would have lost their opportunity to take out the organs. This was the only way they could get the organs out of Ciera's body, even though she had been a hardcore fucking junkie for 8 years. Okay? So when anyone ever comes to you and says, Andre, shut up, that's 2 times. So when anyone ever comes to you and says, oh, they don't take organs from people who do drugs, that's a lie. Oh, they don't take organs from people who smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol, that is a lie. That is a straight up, flat lie. Okay? It doesn't matter what the drugs are. They flush out the organs, and now the technology is so good that they can do it inside the body with the perfusion machine. There's only 3 tubes that they have to connect to start flushing out all the organs in the body as it's being transported and prepped for surgery, so that by the time they take out the organ, they've already been flushed out. And perhaps they just rinse them off and then directly put them right into somebody else's body. They keep flushing it, right? Where in the old days, they'd have to take them out and run them underwater and, hook hearts up to machines and on the outside of the body, where now they can do it on the inside through a fucking perfusion machine that they can simply hide with a hammock. They couldn't take Ciera's body out with an ambulance because her body would have ended up in a hospital, and then from there I would have showed up, and being that she would have been pronounced dead, they would have told me to get in touch with a funeral home, and they wouldn't have known what funeral home, and they weren't willing to lose the opportunity to harvest those organs. So that's why they called the forensic, because they knew with the forensic they'd get legal access to cut her open, take what they want, and then falsify her medical records, and then prevent me from being able to get a second independent autopsy to check up on their behavior, as well as they played mindfuckery with us. All right. Okay, so I'm going to just leave that for now, and I will add this link, and then maybe the next video, what I'll do, is I will get into these old videos. I'll look for other things to add on and just basically highlight and recap and go through what we've already been through, so that if you're coming into the game and you're just new on the block here and you don't understand why I'm so adamant about the things that I say, because God forbid nothing like this bad is happening in Canada, never mind in the United States of America. Well, I'm sorry, I disagree. Okay, God was with me on this day. Okay, this didn't show up on its own, right? That was pure coincidence at the guidance of God, because He doesn't like dirty. He doesn't like evil, right? This is what you're seeing here, is evil being exposed. Alrighty-o. It is February 26th of 2024. I'm going to do another video here because I just came across a couple actually. But this one I find to be very intriguing, and being that there are people out there that want to mock what I have to say when it comes to illegal organ harvesting, and how the public union sector and our policing departments and our coroner services and our government, provincial government, and the justice system in terms of judges and lawyers and courthouse all want to ignore the fact that illegal organ harvesting is happening in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and they got caught. Because they like to put the idea that it only happens in third world countries, or maybe in China, not Canada. No, we're the holy grail, right? The only ones that are naughty are the poor. Everybody else above that poverty line, they don't do no wrong. Especially if they're a government worker and have the access to the facilities to harvest organs, have the network within themselves and the protection of the government to do it illegally without being held to account over and over and over again as they launder that money in, through the housing market to make it look like it's legitimate, or maybe they're stacking, packing their bag in some Swiss account, or maybe, they're like Eleanor, just spreading out on the cows on her pasture up in Shawnigan Lake, okay? Eleanor Gilding, John's sister, the one that medically kidnapped him to steal his, his inheritance, and then wasn't satisfied and went looking for the superannuation life insurance policy. And then, because I wasn't dropping the ball on Uncle John, she put a freaking hit on my kids and made sure that they were signed up for this shit. All right. Now, before we get to the little video discussing this subject, I Googled, how long do you have to rest after heart transplant? Because remember when my landlady said she had blood clots all over in her in her legs, some sort of blood clot, who knows what kind, but anyway, could be those plasticky, rubbery, white kind, it could be, who knows, okay? The point is she said she had that in her legs, in her heart, everything, right? And so they ended up operating on her, people. Apparently they cut her chest wide open and went into her heart and took out whatever they took out, quote unquote, a blood clot. I guess they did it in her legs or wherever. I think she said she had some in her lungs. I don't know. She just said she was riddled with them all over her body. Okay. Well, it wasn't long before she was back to her old self. Like, seriously, a couple months. You wouldn't even know. She's driving. We're talking an 84-year-old woman here, okay? Driving and just whatever. Like, you wouldn't even have known. Right? All on the suspect of that she thought that maybe she had a heart attack, and that's why she called 911, because she felt like she was going to have a heart attack, or she was just starting to have a heart attack. And then they took her to emergency, and they said, oh, no, you're not. And they ran the test, and then they said, oh, yeah, you were. And next thing you know, they were cutting her open and doing this and doing that. And apparently her chest was wide open on the operating table. That's what her family members told me when they came to get their rent. And within 2-3 months, she running around acting like she's a spring chicken. Now, mind you, she's 84, so she's not as quick as she used to be. But, she wanted to carry a bag down the stairs. She asked me if I had a blender that I didn't want that she could give to another tenant that wanted to make juice. And I said, yeah, hold on. And I got that, and I gave her 2, actually. And she wanted to carry it. And I said, no, I don't want you to fall down the stairs carrying a bag with 2 appliances. I'll carry. But either or, she's driving. She's doing fine. So, okay, whatever. It didn't take her very long to recuperate. That's the point. That's what I'm trying to say here. And even at age 84, it did not take her very long to recuperate with her chest major heart surgery. Okay, not to mention if they did anything on her legs and all this other crap. All right. So I'm looking up, how long do you have to rest after heart transplant? Shimei's organs were illegally harvested, and so were Ciera's. Okay? No justice, no peace. In general, you are up and walking a few days after surgery and can leave the hospital in 10 to 14 days. Most people start feeling healthy and strong again in about 6 months. Here it says, your chest, shoulders, and upper back may ache. The incision in your chest may be sore or swollen. These symptoms usually get better after 4 to 6 weeks. You will probably be able to do many of your usual activities after about 3 months. Well, that makes sense, because my landlady's, you wouldn't even known that she went through what she went through based on quote-unquote blood clots. Yeah, okay. So I'm just saying. It was a Punjabi people who harvested Shimei's organs, including her eggs. Alright? He's the one that doted after a dead body for 9 days. He's the one that came in from Vancouver with his own operating team, who is highly esteemed because he's a gynecologist. Why he was doting over Shimei at the Surrey Memorial Hospital, other than they needed a good surgeon to go in there and do what they needed to get done. And he did it. And he didn't just take out the heart, people. He went in through the back and he took everything out, because they can do that within 15 minutes. But they had to embalm the body because they had to hide the fact that she was literally fucking dead. Sorry, boo-boo dead. And that was the only way. That was the only way they could hold us at bay. And then they played the old okie dokie. Okay, alright, we know that. So, what we're going to do now, I haven't watched this whole thing. I only got into that far in it. And being that it's on YouTube, and it's National Geographic's, I'm a little concerned about, you know, doing the old okie dokie that I do, because the province of British Columbia, Canada, plays dirty pool because they want to keep with the status quo and not interrupt their trafficking line of body parts. So they'll never acknowledge it, even if I could make it a slam dunk over and 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 over again. Alright? But in the meantime, so basically, well, we'll just start from the beginning, because this is important. So basically what they're doing here is they acknowledge that Western countries are participating in illegal organ harvesting, although it's not documented, quote unquote, as of yet officially, because we know that shit gets thrown out of the fucking courthouse, right? Well, everybody's running around covering each other's asses here, okay? So they're always trying to play it off like it's in some developing country, or maybe China, or someplace like Iran, you know, some Arab country, but never United States, never Canada, maybe a little bit in the UK, I think they mentioned here. They weren't specific as to where and who and how and why, you know, because they're investigating, right? It's still a rumor, you know. It's like, God forbid if people are that freaking morbid and unethical within the Western world. Okay, All right, let's get on with it for a second. Oh, God. That's not what I want.
And I set my sights on finding the people and organizations that are making a killing in body parts.
Okay, you heard that, right? So I think what we need to do is maybe, now we're going into an ad. Hold on a minute. That's an ad. Okay, so maybe I'll just, like, go through it and stop, and if I hear something that I think is pertinent, I'll record it and turn it off, and I'll listen, and when I think something I can squeeze in is pertinent, you get my point, right? So what you're going to hear, and of course I'll provide the link, right, people? If this was a BitChute exclusive, I'd go from start to beginning, from start to end, and just go through the whole thing. But you know, I kind of want to insert a couple of things, but I'd have to go looking for them on my other computers, and I'm like so swamped right now, so I don't know how I'm going to do it, but we'll see if I can piece in a couple of things anyway, in terms of what they say and what I gotta say. Okay, so let's just listen to this little part first. What they're talking about here prior to this is she's talking to some dude that got a flu or something, and it somehow he went to the hospital, and they did work on him, they sent him home, and then they called him and said, no, you need to come back to the hospital ASAP. We've got an emergency bed for you because your kidneys are shutting down. And now he's on dialysis, and he's on a waiting list that has been on for about 1.5 years. Right, he's got about 7 years to go. Like he can be on dialysis for about 7 years with no kidneys. So if he doesn't get an organ of it, like he's hoping to get one kidney, get it in there, get it working, and then go for the second kidney within 7 years. At least one within 7 years, because if he doesn't get the one kidney within 7 years, his probability of living any longer after that, even with a dialysis machine, is almost nil to none, right? So, and he's already been on a waiting list for an organ of a kidney for 1.5 years. And he doesn't want just one, he wants 2. Okay. So now this person here is going to talk about, basically quickly, the numbers of people who need organs, I guess, in the United States of America, and in comparison to who gets them and who doesn't. Okay? Hold on. That's the guy that's waiting for kidneys.
The numbers are brutal. In the United States, 17 people die every day waiting.
So, in the United States, 17 people die every day waiting for an organ. So the demand is there. And you can say the same thing for Canada in terms of maybe not as high because our population is lower, but I'm sure people are dying waiting for organs, right? Even though in British Columbia, Canada, now this is going back on memory, about 2-3 years ago, there was something like 640 people on the wait list to receive an organ in the province of British Columbia, Canada. And when you look at a population of, in those days it was 5.2 million people, and there was only 640 people, quote unquote, waiting for an organ. I mean, like, that's mild compared to what we're hearing here in terms of, 17 people dying every day. And this is not including the fentanyl deaths, okay? I'm just saying.
Waiting for an organ. In 2020, over 39,000 Americans did receive a transplant.
In 2020, over 39,000 people did receive an organ transplant, even with 17 people dying every day while waiting for organs. Okay. You'd have to multiply 17 by 360 days out of the year to find the total demand. And even then, that would change daily, right? It's not a number that would be consecutive. It would move constantly because new people go to the doctor and find out they need organs every day. So, right? But at least you get an idea. So maybe when I get into a snag and I got to turn off the camera, I'll get a calculator up on the computer and I'll calculate 17 times 365 days to see how many people are dying yearly on average in 2020. Or this was posted in October of where are we? Right here. October of 2023, but we don't know when this was made.
But over 100,000 languished on a waiting list.
Okay, so they've done the math. So 39,000 in 2020 got some sort of organ, while 17 people die every day, as 100,000 just wait. Right? Out of, we'll say, 380 million people in the United States of America. Between 320, well, it's about, in those days, maybe 320 million, not including illegal immigrants. That's why I kind of rounded off at 380 million, right? Okay.
Hoping for a phone call that never came.
We've already had very loose conversations of what do we do when we don't get one.
I can't help but wonder.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to listen to it, and if I think it's pertinent, I'll go back and I'll record and talk. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going to the next issue that I want to highlight. We're just highlighting on things here, right? And I'll calculate the 17 times 365, okay? But we already kind of know. 39,000 got organs in 2020, while 17 people die every day in 2020, while 100,000 sit and wait for an organ in 2020. Hold on. Okay, I didn't have to get far into it. Now, in a year, based on 17 people dying every day for 365 days out of the year, 6,205 people approximately died while waiting, with that 100,000 languishing for an organ, okay? And that was based on 2020 statistics, I would think. So in the meantime, now, okay, I didn't go very far into it, but now this is what I don't like about these types of documentaries, or because it's spin. Because, you know, that person with the kidney or whatever, or whoever, you know, well, what would you do? You know, would you go like as far as to try and maybe, you know, find an organ someplace else for yourself or your loved one, if, you know, you're getting desperate, right? Right? Would you consider illegal organ? She didn't come right out and say it, but like, what's plan B? Well, now they're going into, well, the plan B is to go to another country like China or some other country where you can buy an organ and have it transplanted into your body and then fly back to the United States of America. Or in my case, just come back to British Columbia, Canada, after you get your organ from China. Or maybe the neighbor to China, because we don't do this here in the United States of America. God forbid, no. There's nothing corrupt about our healthcare system. There's nothing corrupt about our policing system. There's nothing corrupt about the public union sector as a whole, including our governments, right? So, that's like blaming the victim for fentanyl, right? They were suicidal. Oh, you don't want to believe that? Then there was an accident. Like, we're too busy. We don't got time. That's the way it is. Get over it. They were a junkie. They were a closet addict. They don't, who cares, right? Well, we do care, because when you're looking at 100,000 people dying of fentanyl, you cannot tell me under any circumstances that they're not harvesting organs illegally. Just with the fentanyl deaths, just with the fentanyl deaths alone, legal organ harvesting has gone up by a third in Canada, British Columbia, Canada, or wherever, including the United States of America. And that's what's being documented. So, because there's so many deaths from fentanyl. So legal organ harvesting has gone up in correlation with the numbers of deaths. Well, they're squeezing in the illegal organ harvesting. So therefore, this is like a Laura Lynn. She'll talk about illegal organ harvesting, but she won't bring it to her backyard, because she might be in a position where she'll want to buy an organ when she gets old. Or maybe somebody in her family will need an organ, and she wants to make sure that, because she, middle class, right? She can afford to buy it, right? She wants to make sure that avenue is open just in case, as a plan B. So therefore, she won't acknowledge it, she won't talk about it, and she sure in hell won't help to expose it happening here in British Columbia, Canada, never mind in the United States of America. All right. So now we're going to listen to some doctor talk about the subject in terms of plan B. Okay?
Of right and wrong.
The mortality rate while waiting for an organ in this country can actually be more than 50% because we don't have enough organs.
In San Francisco, Peter Chin Hong is an infectious disease doctor who specializes in transplant patients.
How prevalent would you say are black market organs in the United States?
So we know the floor, which is at least 10%, but it's certainly much higher because the 10% is what we know about.
When you think that you found a patient that has performed the surgery elsewhere and has a black market...
Did you hear that, people? Elsewhere. Shifting the blame to some other country. Distracting away from what's happening in their own backyards. That's what the government of British Columbia, Canada is doing. That is what the courthouse, the Supreme Court of Canada, is doing. They're trying to blame the Chinese for what happened to Shimei when it was a Punjabi with a freaking turban on that did it. And it was a bunch of ranky-ass, dirty freaking cops. And a robotoid corner that had a motherboard flashing and glowing and tweaking in her hair. With a body dude guy that had, those masochist bracelets with the studs on them and everything. The only thing that he didn't have was the whip and the leather F-me boots with his jockstrap. Okay? Because it's organized crime, people. Right here in my own damn backyard in terms of Surrey, British Columbia, Canada.
Organ? Do you act?
So, this documentary is misleading. Because she's supposed to be representing the United States of America, and rather than put the blame where it belongs in the United States of America, she's saying that everybody's leaving America and going to another country and then coming back and talking to doctors about it after the fact. Maybe. That's hogwash, people. Oh, I suppose there is some truth to the matter, but at the end of the day, they don't take out organs in butcher shops. They take them out in hospitals.
Ask them?
So it's a really difficult conversation. It's hush-hush.
What is it that you think makes them not want to tell you the truth?
Embarrassment, guilt, because they didn't line up like everyone else here. And depending on how they got it, there could be fear of, harm, maybe if you reveal identities of certain organizations that might be doing this.
Yeah, right, but never the public union sector. God forbid, no. Never no prestigious judge or judges more than one. Not to mention the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
And do you have any sense of where these organs are coming from?
We know that the Philippines...
Oh, yeah. All the organs come from some developing country where there's millions of people and they just snatch them off the streets, or they're so desperate they're selling their organs on the black market, or hell, they just sell them on Facebook. But not coming from the United States of America. God forbid. No. Every person that died from fentanyl was an accident and was a suicide and got buried with honor. That's why they lived their lives, a lot of them, out on the streets and were completely used and abused until there was nothing left. As if the public union sector and the government and anyone else involved with that shenanigan would honor those people. Hell no. They're going ching ching, ching ching, ching ching. That's the purpose of fentanyl.
China, India,
yeah.
And some places in...
Yeah, some places. But there you go, India. No, you just have to wait for India to move into your country and become India. How about that? Now I'm getting mad. All right, shifting blame, distracting away from, right? Misleading. All right, covering dirt under the carpet and putting the carpet on an airplane and shipping it off to another country. I'm just saying.
In Eastern Europe, but they're undoubtedly...
Eastern Europe. Did you notice how he was specific about that? Huh? As if those are the only countries that do that.
The other places as well.
No recipients.
And other places as well.
Under Dr. Chin Hong's care would agree to meet. But combing through social media, there are ample clues of a thriving trade overseas.
Overseas, again, distracting away from, hold on a minute. This is like one big cover-up for me, people. I'm serious. Anyway, she talked about going on Facebook. A bunch of people from poor countries, selling their kidneys, all that other crap. I mean, that's nothing new. We've heard about that for a long time, right? And then, she had a light bulb moment where she was wondering if body parts were being trafficked from all these immigrants flooding the border, right? So she asked around, couldn't confirm it, right? And then, what did she say? Trying to make it sound like these things are being done overseas, right? And that so far she hasn't confirmed that the migrants that are, the illegal, whatever they are, crossing the border, and even though we've got 100,000 missing children, migrant children, that is.
No. Experts say that organ trafficking is widespread, but incredibly difficult to report. Difícil, huh?
Right, incredibly difficult to report. Well, I wonder why, people. You need hospitals in order to be able to take out organs. You need money to pay for those facilities. You need the workforce that's being paid to do it. You need to have the protection, like cops and that type of shit, for it to happen, paramedics, and then if it should cross over the barrier and get exposed and go to court, you need the judges to cover it up. And then even if you take the government to court, the government itself will cover it up, because it's their workers. It is their workers that are doing it. Julian was just the pawn to kill Shimei. But he knew what he was doing, and he knew what was going to happen. And you can almost say the mother of him benefited from it, because within a year and a bit, she got into some fake car accident, got herself a brand new car after the fact, and a whole bunch of money, and went and bought herself a fucking house. After my daughter was murdered by her son. And her organs were pillaged by a person from India that likes to wear turbans, that my government pays as an employee. Right? Hard to prove, eh? Well, yeah, I'm eating. For sure. Especially when your government wants to cover it up. Especially when the RCMP want to cover it up. Especially when the courthouse wants to cover it up. Especially when the healthcare workers and themselves want to cover it up. They're all getting something from it. One way or another.
Nada concreto. Often because the victims are poor, are willing participants.
Shmei was not poor. Well, I guess she was, but she sure as hell wasn't a willing participant. She was murdered by fentanyl, and the cops covered it up. And so did the hospital staff. So did the coroner services. And so did the government, because her organs were illegally harvested. And they think that if they keep telling you a lie long enough, you'll believe it. Or you yourself will die, and the story will just go away, so they can run these kind of stories and mislead the people to think that this shit only happens in other countries.
And there's no political will to go after medical tourists and wealthy doctors who enable the trade.
Exactly. There is no political will. She got that one right.
Hey, Oliver, how are you doing?
Hi, Mariana. Yeah, I've been in touch with a couple of guys at organized crime. They basically are confirming that they are more and more involved in illegal organ trafficking.
Oh, wow. So did you think that if we go down to Colombia, we'll be able to film people and talk to people about this trade?
While studying abroad, I still do have school.
Okay, you heard that, right? Do you see how they're distracting you away from what's happening in the United States of America? Okay, so I don't like doing it this way. I just like running through the video, right? But besides that point, so basically she's in Colombia now. And put the big if in front. Illegal organ harvesting is happening in Colombia. If. She said it's going to be hard to pinpoint it. Right? So anyway, we'll just listen for a bit here.
An organ like a kidney must come from a live donor, or a body that has just died, and must be transplanted within 36 hours.
Okay, so you heard that. So I'm sure Shmei's kidneys were perfectly fine. She was 22 years old and healthy and just had a baby. Right? They took out her organs within 7 hours of her being delivered in a hammock with a perfusion machine already pumping out her organs, people, from the paramedics. Okay? They had 7 hours to prep the operating room and get that doctor from Vancouver to come down with his operating team to do what they did. But they could have dragged it out for 36 hours if they wanted to when it came to the kidneys, right? But they got it within the 7th hour. Yeah. And it only takes 45 minutes to 1 hour to embalm a body. You do the math. They kicked everybody out of the emergency room in terms of Tisha and Julian at 6 o'clock. And by 9 o'clock they were running late. And when I walked in at 9:30, 20 to 10, after Julian, his mother, and his sister were in there doing whatever they were doing, because they went in late, because the hospital staff were running in late. She was leaking like a leaky boat, ready to sink. All up and down her arms were all these poke marks with this red liquid coming out of her arms. I've already explained what was happening there in terms of, you know, when you shove that needle in and out, in and out, in and out to fill the extremities with the embalming fluid, because when you're running it through the veins, it doesn't go through all the extremities properly. And they went in through her jugular vein on the right-hand side with that big-ass Band-Aid with their red embalming fluid leaking out of it. She was bloated like a beach whale because they put too much shit inside of her. And they had ice caps on her legs, right, to cool her down, so they said. And then eventually they did take off the ice caps, and as soon as these leg ice cap things, a couple, 2-3 days later, they took them off, and her temperature rose very, very quickly because her body was decomposing. But nobody knew that, right? But they just seen that her body temperature was like she was heating up so bad, right? Everybody got real scared and demanded that they, you know, put on a cooling blanket and all this other stuff on her to cool her down. Little did they know that was the body reacting to being in a warm ambient hospital room where you know, decomposition excels, right? It goes faster. Embalming can only slow down the decomposition. It can't stop it. Yeah.
Preferably even sooner. If all of our sources are correct, and organs are being smuggled out of Colombia.
Oh, only out of Colombia. Do you see how misleading this is?
That's a remarkably short window for them to cross borders and be transplanted into another body.
No. You go into somebody's house that was murdered, hot-capped, hot-shot, whatever. Right? You pack them up in a hammock so that you can plug in your perfusion machine so you can start the cycle of flushing the organs before they even get to the hospital. You keep the perfusion machine running because this is all done on the inside, people. They're flushing out the organs on the inside of the body now before they take them out and then put them into somebody else's body. They don't have to take them out and run them under a fucking sink with water to flush them out or hook them up on the out. No, they do it on the inside now. You don't believe me? Look up perfusion machines and see what they've managed to do with them these days.
So I've come to see.
Started off with dogs, and they've perfected the technology now.
If I can confirm it with my own eyes. The town we're heading to, Turbo, is rumored to be the epicenter of smuggling for Colombia's most dangerous cartel, the Clan del Golfo.
That's another thing.
And how dangerous is it to...
They also blame the cartel on this one. Going to Colombia, which equates to the cartel. It's the cartel that's doing it. No, not in the Western world. It's the public union sector that's doing it, right along with the courthouses, the government. That's who's doing it, people. And then the little Julian Johnsons that run around in the neighborhood selling their petty drugs are the ones that are bringing in the dead bodies, hoping that they can continue to sell their drugs and maybe get rich off it, or maybe somebody in their family will fake a car accident, because that's what happened. And they'll buy them out that way with big money. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And then they take out the ones they don't trust, and that's why Julian Johnson got shot down in front of a fucking gas station. One way or another. Right? Too many dead bodies. People were getting suspicious.
Report in this region.
It's pretty dangerous. I mean, it's a region which is controlled by the biggest drug cartel in Colombia. I would easily say 80%.
Okay, so we know where this is going. Okay? Which is a big, huge injustice for the American people and for the Canadian people. All right? Because this is borderline. I'm not going to say it's lying because I'm sure it's happening. But it's just one big smoke screen. So I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to listen for a while. Okay, so basically what we get here now is like she interviewing somebody that works up by the Darien Gap there and you know, managing migrants through the jungle, you know, the trafficking of drugs and all this other crap. And this interviewer asked if, you know, you dealing in no, can you hook me up with somebody? Yes, I can. And then he goes on to say he's in charge of cutting them, extracting their organs, and packaging them. So here we've got some wannabe doctors sitting up at the Darien Gap in the jungle, cutting people up, extracting organs, and putting them into packages. They make it sound so barbaric, people. Right? And it's all being done by the cartel. That's bullshit, people. It's just a distraction, okay? No, this is happening in our own hospitals from our own public union sector workers right across the board, okay? Through some sort of an alliance that they've got with each other, okay? And do you think he would talk to us?
Sure.
Yes. I can introduce you, so I'll come back. Okay, so they're like slapping on ads like every 2, 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Like serious, just ad after ad after ad. Well, anyway, basically, so it's all rumor at this point. Red Cross doesn't admit to it. Local police don't admit to it up in the Darien Gap. Right? Okay. Everybody's desperate with these all these immigrants, migrants, or whatever. They're all desperate with their, you know, stories and blah. But nobody's admitting to illegal organ harvesting at this point. Outside of, we're going to listen to what I suppose one police officer has got to say.
And did agree to speak with us on condition of anonymity.
And everything I have to read. I've been a policeman for 5 years. And in 5 years, it's just in the last 2 weeks that you've heard about organ trafficking for the first time in the jungle. About organ trafficking for the first time from 2 different people. From different people. And where were they from? Haiti. Why shouldn't we be surprised? Black. And what was Shimei? Half black. Funny how they have her listed down in her hospital medical records that she was Punjabi. Must have had something to do with her hair. And light skin. Did you discuss this with other police officers? Your colleagues? One of my workmates heard the same thing. Well, in British Columbia, Canada, they don't hear about it, people. They facilitate it. About organ trafficking. So I'm starting to believe that this is real. You notice how creepy that music is, right? Fear porn, right? All suspicious fear porn. Last time they had an ad go up was at 14 minutes. Now we're at 15:19. I'm pretty sure we'll be coming into an ad real soon because they're slapping on ad after ad after ad. And now that you've received the information, what can you do about it? That is quite complicated. Yeah. It's called organized crime in partnership with organized religion. Organized criminals, I should say. Organized criminals in partnership with organized crime who like to use public utilities, public tax dollars, the public workforce, the public justice system, and including the politicians themselves to get away with trafficking and illegally harvesting organs in Canada. Who needs to go to the jungle? The person who gave me the information refused to file a report. They're afraid of retaliation if they speak about it. Yeah, fighting hard for Uncle John, fighting hard for the community through the nonprofit, and what did it get me? It got my daughters targeted for their organs as retaliation. Yeah. A hit was put out on them, and it wasn't Julian who put the hit out. Julian just did the job, and his mother got paid for it. Or maybe the crossing will get closed. Yeah. Got to keep those migrants flooding over into the United States of America. We don't have to worry about that. They just fly in, move in, take over everything, while our families, like mine, die off. And it's just one big cover-up. So who needs to go to the jungle? Seriously. Welcome to the new Congo. So they're too afraid to report it. There you go. Hold on. So they're basically running ads every 2.5 minutes. So you can almost say this is clickbait. Title, Black Market Organs, full episode, Trafficked with Mariana van Zeller. I guess she's the one that's doing the interview. But they're not really saying now very much, are they? And if, they're just distracting away from the local organized crime right across the United States of America and including in Canada. Right? If one crooked doctor falls off the grid, all they have to do is put a call out to China, put a call out to India or wherever, and a new one will jump on the airplane, fly over here, get $200,000 a year from the government, and then he can go about his merry business and harvest organs left, right, and center as the deaths are coming in by murder by fentanyl. Not to mention any other death that comes in that they want to illegally harvest those bodies from. Seriously, people. Yeah. As they play mind effery with families and cover it up, conspire and connive to cover it up. I'm not going to do this for the rest of this way. Okay, I'm just going to sit here and listen, and then I'm going to come back and say what I got to say. And then if you want, you can go listen for yourself, because as far as I'm concerned, this is nothing more than clickbait as a means to distract away from what's really happening in the United States of America when it comes to illegal organ harvesting and trafficking of human body parts, including eggs. Based on my experiences in British Columbia, Canada, and what's happened to my family. See, this is what I don't like about YouTube. You know, they're slapping their ads on this thing left, right, and center, and basically it's borderline fear porn that's nothing more than clickbait. Seriously. That's one big distraction as to what's in your own damn backyard, aka country, when it comes to being an American or a Canadian or something like that, all right? Because they're making it sound like it's the impoverished people that are desperate to do this kind of stuff, and you know, and everything's done in a dirty back room. Right now she's interviewing the wrecker, W-R-E-C-K, right? To wreck things, right? To destroy things that got hired on specifically to harvest organs, because she asked him, did you start off with other things while working with the Klan, like maybe selling drugs or whatever? No, he's saying yes, organs immediately. So he came in immediately into the gang to extract organs from migrants or whoever that's up in that area, in the jungle. A friend of mine is a commander in Clandel. And what did he ask you to do? To do what? To slice some bodies. Okay? To slice bodies. Yeah, okay. To slice up how? With what? Okay. Well, it's like, I guess we're in a butcher shop now of some kind. But we don't have to do them in butcher shops in the bush in Canada, people. We have public hospitals with public workers, with public freaking policing agencies that protect the criminal activity to reward whoever they reward, to keep hush-hush as the government protects them all. Like, seriously. With a knife. A body of a person. That person was already dead? No. Alive. Tied up. Are you listening to this? And to extract their organs. If that isn't fear porn, I don't know what is. I guess it's supposed to make you feel safe in the United States of America, because God forbid if they would do something like that to us in Canada or in the United States. Yeah, right. Yeah. They couldn't get Shimei's body out of here fast enough and hook her up to that program as soon as they took her to the hospital. Like I said, it only took 7 hours to have the recipients come to the hospital, and all the equipment and everything, the nursing staff, and because that doctor had his own nursing staff. He had his own operating team, people, paid by the province of British Columbia, Canada, for crying out loud. And now they're bringing in vitro fertilization with them paying for the first round of it in terms of the province, with the BC United, aka Liberal Party, clapping their hands saying, yeah, you go, it's about time you did it. As Shimei's eggs are sitting on, what, cold ice? Where are they going to put them, people? Man or woman? Don't be surprised in the next 5-10 years you start hearing about men having actual babies growing inside their stomach with an artificial womb, or maybe a womb that was taken out of someone like Shimei and then implanted into a man that's posing as a woman. But they still don't have eggs. They would have to get those eggs from somewhere else, wouldn't they? But this distracts away from all of that, right? This gives cover for the government. This gives cover for the government workers. This gives cover for the fucking cops. Justice, judges, the whole 9 yards. So they can keep doing what they do. Next year, 2 years from now, there'll be 150,000 fentanyl deaths in the United States of America. Yeah. To cover it up. To cover it up, people. As they're continuing to blame the victims. Yeah. Well, a large majority of those organs, if not all, are being harvested in one way or another, including other body parts for other things. This is just scratching the surface. And they're trying to gross you out with it, clearly. So that you don't think too hard and deep about it, and you thank yourself when you go to bed at night that it's not happening in your backyard, aka country, the United States of America, or Canada, because we're so morally correct and ethical. Yeah.
¿Por qué vivo?
Why?
Normal.
That's how it is. Those are the boss's order. Those are the boss orders.
¿Qué te dice de...
He tells you to slice them while they're alive.
Matarlo, de abrirlos mientras están vivos.
Sí, claro.
Yes, right.
No.
Sí, te tienen ahí.
First, they are taken to the blood test, to get a blood test. Exactly. They're blood testing kids in school by getting the kids to donate blood. Yeah, Shimei was a blood donor, donating her blood first through the school system that was plotting and scheming how to prevent her from becoming a surgery nurse. They didn't want her to be a surgery nurse in the surgery room. They wanted her to be a tourist operator. Yeah. Wouldn't give her the courses that she needed in order to become a nurse, for, you know, in an operating room, right? So when she graduated, she had to go to a college to get her credits through the science and the math, because they wouldn't put her in those things. Yeah. Because the ones that they've got in those rooms are criminals, people.
Se cogen primero, se le hace un examen de sangre.
To see if they're compatible. Yeah. What's that noise? Yeah, to see if they're compatible. Exactly. It only took them 7 hours to get the recipients, more than one, to come to the hospital, or to package up their organs after they were perfused in her body and shipped off to another hospital. But they definitely took out her organs at the Surrey Memorial Hospital on the 7th hour of her being at the hospital. Okay. And her blood was already mapped and all that because she had Mari 7 months prior, not to mention she was already a blood donor. Uh-huh.
¿Y dónde vas a
And where do you get those people?
buscar las otras personas?
We grab migrants. We have many here in wherever that place is. Nicole Eli.
Pero ¿quién está
But who is the one using the tools to extract?
utilizando los instrumentos de sacar?
The doctor and I. The both of us.
Pero tú
But do you have any?
tienes algún, tú sabes sacar los
Do you know how to extract organs?
órganos?
Yes, the doctors have explained all of it. You separate it from the flesh. Carefully, you release it. You also loosen it. Yeah, and they take it all out in one fucking swoop from the back. 15 minutes. Because it's attached at the top. And you extract it.
¿Y qué tipo de
And which kind of organs are we talking about?
órganos estás hablando?
Kidneys, livers. We've even exported skin from time to time. Yeah, well, I already talked about that now, didn't I?
¿Piel?
It's complicated. You can do it.
Sí, como
And now, do you transplant it? Or no? And how do you transport it?
¿cómo se hace el transporte?
It goes in the boat. With the cocaine.
¿Y para dónde?
And then you got people that like to come in and say stupid shit that, oh, well, you can't transplant organs from dead people. Actually, you can. They just like them being as fresh as they can get them, though. You heard right in the very beginning, if somebody dies, they've got at least 36 hours before they have to transplant it. Every organ is different. Hearts are very sensitive. They need to be done very quickly. But kidneys, you got up to 36 hours. You could get drunk, sober up, and go do your job. And then where? Which direction? What countries does it go to? Yeah, okay, we're just going to put an order in from Cambodia and have it shipped over on a fucking boat. Come on, people. Grab a brain.
¿Para qué dirección? ¿Por qué países tiene que ir?
Sometimes it goes to the United States. Sometimes to Panama.
The go-fast boats that he refers to could certainly make it to Panama in time for a kidney transplant.
All right, this is, like I said, this is like fear porn that's borderline freaking clickbait that's being used as a means to distract away from what's going on in your own freaking neighborhood. All right, so now we get on to, you know, she asked him, how do we know you're not lying? Oh, he says, I'm not lying, I got video. She asking him, on your phone? He goes, yeah. And then they shuffle things around, and now I guess she looked at it, and we're going to hear what she's got to say about looking at this phone. Hey, body dude guy, looking at the phone as he's going down the bloody stairs, people. He's supposed to go in and get Ciera's dead body, not be looking in a phone with a big ass grin on his face, going down to the bottom of the stairs, standing, looking up at the streets with the RCMP sitting in her fucking vehicles, doing little hand signals as he's smirking. As the baby-faced cop who's standing there guarding the door saying, did you get the stuff? Did you get the stuff? Or maybe he said, did you get the cell? Are you coming back? Are you coming back? Are you done? The guy said, no, I'm not done. Well, of course he's not done. He didn't get the body. How could he possibly be done? But he went down to the bottom of the stairs and did his little hand signals to the RCMP sitting in their vehicles with a fucking grin on his face after he was looking at the cell phone as he walked out with that cop guarding the door, preventing me and my son from identifying Ciera's body. Don't tell me they're not fucking running snuff movies with this shit. Okay? You don't need to go to Cambodia for this shit. Let's see what she has to say after looking at the cell phone.
Shows me is too gruesome to show on television.
What he showed me is too gruesome to show on television. Yeah, right. That's why that body dude guy had a big grin on his face when he was hand signaling the cops at the bottom of the fucking stairs, letting them know that he got the stuff. He just forgot the body. All right. So we basically know that she's seen the video where he put his hands in the chest, pulled everything out, put it on a table, and it was gruesome, it was evil, and she's in shock, and blah, 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 and blah, right? And then she goes on to say, I'll let you know in a second here.
Make himself be more important in this than he actually is, like he knows what he's doing. That I'm not sure, and I don't think we ever will know.
Ego plays an important role in black markets. It's very often the reason why people agree to talk to me. And sometimes it's difficult to parse the truth from bluster and lies.
Well, I guess if you're looking at a video and you admit it on camera and you have a reputation, well, it must be real. But it's in Cambodia, so don't worry. It won't happen in the United States, even though we've got tens of thousands of black young males going missing all over the place in the United States of America, or being shot down in the city streets, or dying from fentanyl, including white people and whoever else is out on the streets. And then, of course, we've got Canada, and, you know, like, as if nobody's getting their organs harvested illegally, even though 1/3 of the legal organs just has jumped up. With all that death, that is.
What I do know,
this is what I want you to hear,
is that a business that works for one criminal group is often copied by another.
For a business to work with one criminal group, think of British Columbia, Canada, starting in the Parliament buildings, trickling out to the public union sector, whether they're partly employed by the federal government or not, like the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, is insignificant. The point is they are one group, one big group, where other groups follow. Yeah. Okay, so now she's on the hunt. She's going closer to the U.S. border. She's already hooked up with somebody. All right? And now she's going to bring in, I guess you could say, the public union sector. When you're dealing with doctors, nurses, and people who know how to launder the money, and, you know, this is your middle class people that she's now going to go talk on about.
parts of the world, organ trafficking rings have employed a small army of accomplices.
A small army? That's where I disagree. It's not small. It's systemic. It's a huge problem.
Recruiters,
doctors, nurses, those Lucies that like to dote over dead bodies.
Hospital administrators.
Oh, well, yeah. How much money did the Surrey Memorial Hospital make off of Chimay's dead body after they illegally embalmed it and put it on a bed for 9 days? They were rolling in the dough, people. And that's not to mention their cut on illegal organ harvest sales.
Even people to launder the cash.
Even people who launder the cash. Well, we know Dr. Barr, with the turban, got a big suitcase full of $1,000 bills passed under the gurney to him. That's how he got paid. And then he ran off and bought himself another fucking house, so he could throw out the next tenant, hoping that he could get lucky and cash in on that too. Yeah.
I'm hoping that if I can find a low-level accomplice...
A low level. Exactly. Low level. I'm not dealing with the low levels here, people. I'm in the pit of hell. Okay. So now she's interviewing some mobster guy, cartel, whatever, in Mexico that's in jail. But he had to go, so he handed the phone over to his right man. And what these fellas do in jail is facilitate the trafficking of organs from live donors, apparently. And, what was it, a kidney? Or a liver? No. I forgot, because I'm like flabbergasted, because this is Mexican dollars, $200,000 for, this is what they get paid. Where are we? We're on 3017. So we'll go to 13. But some people, we just have to grab them. In other words, grab the organs and take them. They try and see first if they're compatible, but sometimes they just take what they can take. Because each liver, and this is in Mexico, gets us $200,000, you know. So I'm in Canada, so you could say that Chimay's liver went for $250,000 or maybe $300,000. And that was just her liver, people. And that's Ciera too. So my government will cap it off at $300,000 per liver. My government and their employees made $600,000 off of my 2 dead daughters just for their 2 livers. 600,000. We can lowball it at 250. All right, 250,000 times 2, $500,000 just for their livers. That's why they had Ciera locked up in jail in isolation for months, even though she should have been released prior to being in that situation. But they kept her in isolation, people. Longer than she was supposed to be in there. And then within 4 days of being released from jail, she was lured to her death. And I'm going to bring up that body dude guy walking down the stairs looking into the cell phone, doing his little funky fucking hand signals to the cops at the top of the street to say he got the stuff. With his sadistic and masochist bracelet on his wrist with the little studs.
You know,
that was a gang symbol. It's a lot of money.
Lots of money.
So you're saying that sometimes that these people, they're not just selling the organs because they want to. You're saying that you guys actually force them to. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
And who are these people and where do you find them?
Some that work with us, and ellos son los que te dicen, esta persona sí puede.
And they tell us which person is right, which isn't.
Esta no, en la que ya nos.
And the ones who are not useful can't stay alive. Well, Shmei's dead. Don't want her to be a surgery nurse. Hell no. She was determined. She was going back to school for it. She would have been a registered nurse within a few years. They didn't want her roaming the halls. Nope. And Ciera, well, they pimped her out so much there was nothing left to pimp, right? So she wasn't useful anymore. So they took care of that now, didn't they?
Sirve. Nosotros no la podemos dejar alive, you know? Because...
Oh, but this only happens in Mexico. Not in Canada, God forbid. Or in the United States of America. No. Only Americans and Canadians buy the organs. They don't harvest them, never mind illegally. No. That's bullshit, people. Because it's a problem for us.
It's a trouble for us.
How so? What do you mean? Like, how is it trouble? Because how do they know anything?
I mean, if...
What, you don't have to say everything? Wait, you don't have to say everything.
Tienes que decir todo, nomás
No more of this.
No.
Y ellos no nos sirven, se tienen que morir, porque no podemos dejar.
Because we cannot leave witnesses.
Testigos.
I had thought that here in Mexico, this trade was about commerce, not murder.
Welcome to the new Congo, aka Canada. The doctors help us. Duh, no kidding. Without a doctor, it's kind of hard to transplant organs from one body to another now, isn't it? Without the government setting them up and making it so that they can do it illegally, it's kind of hard for them to do it on their own, don't you think?
Nos ayudan para conseguir
to get compatible people. That's what I'm telling you. Shmei was targeted people. She was on a hit list. I'm pretty sure Eleanor Gilding had something to do with it, to take it away from John and what happened to him. Yeah. I do believe that.
Zonas compatibles.
Shmei was smart. She was helping me with John. Yeah.
So when they...
To get him back, she was helping me with the court papers. So when that happens, they perform the procedure when they find somebody that's compatible.
Happens, le hacen todo el procedimiento a la persona, pagamos.
And we pay them for the organ. So, I guess Dr. Parr got paid for the organs. He's the overlord in the hospital. Yeah.
So, órgano.
¿Y cuánto?
How much? Do you know how much they pay?
Les pagan ahí, ¿sabes?
We pay them 50,000 or 100,000, which is 5,000, I guess, US.
50,000 o 100,000 pesos.
Se puede vender.
And you can sell an organ?
Un órgano por $200,000.
For $200,000?
Vienen también del...
Yes. Do they come from the U.S.? Are the patients Americans?
¿Del Estados Unidos? ¿Pacientes americanos?
La mayoría.
Yes, the majority are Americans. Well, I can tell you, in British Columbia, Canada, the majority are probably Punjabis, being that they're the majority in British Columbia, Canada. And then it trickles out from there. Okay? They're not being shipped off to any other country. All right? They're being harvested here in our local hospitals and implanted here at the same hospital within hours, minutes from being removed from the body that more than likely got murdered so that transaction could happen. Okay, so basically, this, whatever this thing is just trying to smooth things over, whitewash over the fact that illegal organ harvesting is real. It's not just happening in Mexico or in Cambodia or at the Darien Gap. Okay, it's happening in our hospitals, people. It's being facilitated by our governments and the ones that they employ. Whether it's the coroner service, hospital staff, whether it's the policing department, the justice department to prevent people from taking it to court. Easy for them to accuse me of this, accuse me of that, say I'm frivolous and, I don't know what I'm talking about. I have an imagination that's gone wild. Whatever, just so they can cover their tracks, right? And being that, this is YouTube, when it comes to fear porn or to distract away from the truth so they can slap on their ads because they make it look like a freaking documentary, so somehow it's legitimate. And yeah, this is legitimate, but it's kind of like a one-sided coin. That's what I'm trying to say. Because she's pointing the fingers only at the Mexican cartel or further on down the line when you're getting into Cambodia and wherever and those types of gangs and steering far, far away from the public union sector itself. Okay? So, I'm just going to add the link. I think I made my point. If you want to watch the end of this video, or the beginning to the end, you're welcome to do that. But at the end of the day, I think it's just, it's like blaming the victim to fentanyl. Oh, they did it to themselves. Yeah, they were depressed. They committed suicide. Oh, you don't want to hear that? Okay, well then we'll just change it and we'll put it that it was an accident. It was fentanyl. They didn't mean to kill themselves, but they should have known better, right? They shouldn't have been a closet addict, right? They shouldn't have been sitting up in a module by themselves, in terms of the tiny home where they're not allowed to have visitors and they just up and died in there all by themselves, right? Because there was no one there to help them at the request of the, the government. So it's just one big... The world is a bad place, people. It really is, with a lot of bad individuals walking on it. Oh, this is too funny. They're saying that Italians from Canada are the ones buying the organs. What? More like the Punjabis. All right. So now she's interviewing a doctor. She had to go through 6 doctors before she found this one, which is the 6th doctor, that she's going to interview about how this shit happens.
I was actually very, very nervous that you weren't going to come. So, can you tell me, what is it that you do? You're a doctor,
and don't forget, there was 2 signing doctors with Shimei. There was the brain doctor. I don't know what he was. Some sort of a Caucasian or something. I'd have to look in Shimei's medical records and pull up his name and Google it. Wasn't Punjabi, though. No. Right? So there's more than one doctor involved, obviously, in Canada doing this stuff. Dr. Barr isn't going from hospital to hospital to hospital all across the province doing what he did to Shimei. All right? There's more than one doctor that's doing it, just like there was 5 doctors before this one spoke. Okay, so there's 6 doctors in this little network of criminals that we're aware of at this point. And I'm sure there's more than 6.
In the world.
But of course, this is YouTube, so they would run with 6, right? 666, right?
Of the black market, what is it that you do exactly?
There you go. Anything for money. All right.
Bueno, conseguir.
Well, getting transplant for tissue or organs.
Para tejidos u órganos.
And those patients that come here, who needs organs? Well, Italians from Canada. Yeah, okay.
Pacientes que vienen, que necesitan de órganos, where are they from?
Where are they from? Usually the United States. Absolving the United States, suggesting that the United States don't illegally harvest organs because they're so morally correct. Yeah, okay. That's why you've got people disappearing left, right, and center all across that country, including 100,000 migrant children in the last, well, that was in 2020. That was just in 2020. Based on what other people have said on other videos that toe that line.
Estados Unidos llegan muchas personas.
A lot of people come from there. You know, they have the best economy. Exactly. They have the best economy, so you know they're doing it right there in the United States of America. Only thing is, their cops cover it up too. So does their coroner service. Unless, of course, you get an independent autopsy, and you might get lucky and actually get a coroner that will tell you the freaking truth, that all the organs are not in the body, unlike what the other coroner that worked for the government told you. In British Columbia, Canada, you can't get a second independent autopsy. Right, so they can falsify any record they want at any time and get away with it and never be caught, because they know the government will cover their asses in court if it should ever get to court. And therefore, it's always just a rumor. Yeah, right.
¿Y cuánto dinero reciben?
How much money do the people who are donating get? So apparently some people donate their organs because they're dying anyway and they want to leave money for their families. That's one way to get organs donated from a living person.
Las personas que están donando.
Varía.
Well, it varies. Those are agreements that are made between the relatives. Organized religion.
Entre los familiares de la persona que va
of the person who is going to donate.
Y el receptor.
And the recipient.
Es que los donadores,
the donors,
hay veces que los donadores,
many times the donors are deceased. Okay. So they're selling body parts from deceased people already, that people are already deceased. Well, that's what they did with Chimay people. And Ciera. But I do believe Ciera was alive behind that door and heard me, heard Marcane, and heard Tisha, but couldn't cry out. That's why they had that cop guarding the door. Yeah. That's why that body dude walked down the steps with the cell phone, because it was a snuff movie. Yeah.
Son fallecidos, personas que han fallecido y que...
There's no other reason. And who have agreed to donate their organs.
Han estado de acuerdo en donar sus órganos, pero hay veces que...
But sometimes they bring in living people. Okay.
En personas vivas.
Pero usted trabaja con...
Do you work with a man that's in prison? You see how they're distracting away from it, people? It only happens in Mexico, in the jungle, in Cambodia, but not the great grand United States of America. And God forbid if it happened in Canada. Yeah, we just put our order in at Mexico. Yeah, sure.
¿Con el señor que está en el cárcel?
No, yo las cosas que uso.
The things I do are legal.
Legales.
Something feels off. It seems this doctor is only willing to go so far with cameras rolling.
Sí, pero vender un órgano...
Yeah, but selling an organ in Mexico is illegal.
En México es ilegal.
Oh, sí.
Entonces,
oh, yes.
si usted no...
So, if you don't know, the man in prison...
conoce el señor del cárcel, ¿cómo es que está?
Why are you here right now? Okay, that's enough. Go watch the end of it for yourself if you're interested. Alright, I'm back. So now she's at the end of her investigation here. She's convinced that something is going on in Mexico, maybe not so much in Cambodia. Then she wanted to know who's buying. She found finally somebody after months and months and months of trying to find somebody that would talk, that spent over $500,000, that spent over $500,000 for a pancreas because he had diabetes. Yeah. And he basically said, as long as you have the money, you will get what you want when it comes to buying organs on the black market. All right. And that was just for a pancreas.
A little bit more than $500,000.
And you have to...
And you have... If you have $200,000...
100,000. And I had 300.
And I had 300,000.
100,000. Amen.
I get it. You don't. Because he paid more. Yeah. Same shit out here in British Columbia, Canada. And that's why the government's covering it up, people.
I get it. You don't.
So you were ready to pay more than anyone else?
I was ready to fight for my life. I just wanted to be away from the dog, the pain. I just needed to stop suffering.
Do you know where your pancreas came from?
Of course not. I don't care.
I don't care. Exactly. And neither does the province of British Columbia, Canada, and each and every MLA that stands up in that chamber that John vacuumed and cleaned up after them. And that's why he didn't get no justice either. Okay, so I'm going to end this video on the note that at the end of the episode here, basically the woman left it hanging with the justification in a roundabout kind of way as to if you were in that situation where you needed an organ, regardless of what it was, and you could pay for it, what would you do? What would you do? And then she contemplated on what she would do and settled with, well, you know, it's really hard to say until you walk in that person's shoes. So for me, the way I interpret that, people, is it's basically the middle and upper class, you know, that two-tiered predator society that will justify heinous crimes in order for them to be able to survive and sustain themselves at the expense of heinous crimes that injure people for life, whether through permanent lifelong injury in multiple areas or in the event of death. Just so they could purchase an organ, have it transplanted, and get on with their life and forget about it and say, c'est la vie. It only takes a couple of months, 4 to 6 weeks, to be up and around doing almost everything that you did before after heart surgery. 6 months to basically fully heal from heart surgery. So if you're in your 80s and you need a heart and you want to live for a few more years and you've got the money to go off and pay how many dollars it costs to buy it on the black market, well, you're going to find it because it's the system is already in place. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in the United States of America. And this individual here made it sound like it was clearly only happening in either developing countries or places like Mexico, and that it would never happen in the United States of America, never mind in Canada, which is a bunch of crock.